Delighted to welcome Andrea Donaldson-Smith. Andy is the Head of Soft Services at the very prestigious Hurlingham Club. Welcome, Andy.
Thank you very much for having me, Michelle.
You're welcome. It's great to have you. So I'd really like to start by just understanding your journey into FM and your career to date.
My journey started off years and years ago, probably when I was about 18 years old. I worked in bars and I was really good with the customers and the teams and the difficult drunks and things like that.
Yeah.
And I've worked in every single bar in Battersea, pretty much.
Okay.
And there was a time period where I had to take some time off work for personal reasons, and I was trying to think about what I wanted to do next. I was like, well, customer service is my thing. I'm good at it. But I want something a bit more. So I went Googling and I found, I don't remember where, an apprenticeship for Travelodge.
Okay.
So apprenticeship in management. And it was a bold decision to make. So I think I was about 20, 21, and I just moved into my flat paying adult bills and things like this. And I had to take on an apprenticeship that didn't pay very well, just to be able to get myself into a place where I could develop my skills. And in my mind, I literally thought that what is like a pub but different? A hotel that has a bar attached to it. So I was like, okay, and that's how I thought about it. That was my logic behind it. Worked in various budget hotels and 5-star hotels. And as I tell anyone, I did not realise that I was in facilities management. It was only once I moved to the corporate world that I realised that what I did was FM, dealing with complaints, dealing with maintenance, security, all of those things. I've actually done it twice. So obviously taking a lower paid apprenticeship in my early 20s to get myself into it, but then also going from a guest relations manager back to a receptionist, because I needed to get into the corporate world. So I sat there, I did the job, and then I did what I usually do when I want something, is I got to know the right people. I got to know the right people. I got more responsibility because I was willing to do things that other people thought were boring, because I find things like health and safety quite interesting. And worked my way up, literally up the levels to level 16, where all the execs sat and where JLL were. And the minute a job came up, they were like, oh, this woman, Andrea. And that's essentially how it happened. I just sort of weaseled my way in, but I've done it all. I've done, turned down beds. I've been a carer. I think everything I've done has brought me to where I am now. I understand challenging people. I understand people that don't communicate well. I understand how buildings work and the politics and everything. So, and I understand how help desk work. So I've done it all.
Most people do say they fall into FM, don't they? So you didn't start off by saying that, but in a way, I did it. I made sure. Didn't quite realise what it was.
I made sure not to say that, because it's the thing that we all say, and it's true. And I don't think I fell into it. I think I was in it because I wanted to obviously do that management thing, but I didn't understand the term. And I think that's a key problem as well. You ask people who facilities managers are, they're like, what is that?
Yeah, exactly. So you've talked a little bit about what you've done from where you came from initially, but I'm really interested in pulling out the things like impactful projects, or the variety of different things that you've worked on throughout your career so far, because people that don't know FM don't necessarily know all the different sectors that you can get involved in, the different projects you can get involved in, the different types of roles. So anything you can add on that?
So in a few of my previous roles, you could say that I've been doing facilities management in general, but also been in charge of all the health and safety evacuations, shelter in place, developing the policies, first aid kits, that piece. I have one of the hotels I worked in, it was a 800 bedroom hotel that was being constructed on top. So it was not just the day-to-day managing the weddings. I think we had horses and drummers, and then we had all the complaints that would come through to me. And then also I would do the guest experience of setting up wedding proposals and things like that, then run upstairs and deal with a difficult man. I won't say why he was difficult, but also trying to keep the building running while you've got it being constructed on as well at the same time. That is very difficult. And then in amongst that, the fire alarm goes off and you've now got to protect everyone. So that's one bit that was the variety there. But the bits that have really stayed with me are the mobilizations. So you can do so many things. Like I said earlier, I love health and safety. I love learning about how BMSs work. I by no means have any technical qualification, but I love to spend time with engineers and to find out how they work. More recently here, the grounds and landscapes. I did not know that grounds and landscapes was part of FM. Yeah. And they do a bloody hard job. All weather. Our head of grounds has to give the inoculations to the black swans. He gets bitten.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, I sit there and I go, I didn't know this. But for me, I seem to fall into these roles where I turn up, they say you're in FM, or I end up having to do spreadsheets and spreadsheets to put together global training sessions for directors when I'm a lowly little FM going, excuse me, get your team to do this. That's one thing. Having to completely rewrite waste procedures. That's another thing I didn't know I was capable of doing until I did it. Decommissioning buildings, which is interesting because you have to deal with the landlord, the council, your contractors. That I find very interesting. Quantity surveyors, and then the legal side that comes with these things. So I don't think I could in enough time that we've got explain how varied it is.
Varied.
But those journeys though, when I've decommissioned or mobilized a building, those are the moments when I realized that I am actually better at this than I thought I was, because it's never been the job description to go in and mobilize a site. It's always FM or senior FM. Then they're like, okay, this building's opening in 6 months, we need to mobilize. I'm like, that's not what. So yes, that's me.
Skills wise then, I mean, all the things you're involved with on a daily basis in the roles you've done, you know, at the Hurlingham Club, there's constantly something different happening. You must have had to really develop your skills over time. What different skills that you've learned as you've developed through your career? I
think the biggest skill that you need to have to be in this industry is the correct mindset.
Yeah.
I think you can't be a person that wants the easy life and the quick fix. That is not how it works. It is a case of whether it's your client that you've got issues with, other contractors, third parties, all of these things. If you've not got the mindset of I'm going to go in there no matter what the problem is and I'm just going to figure it out, then you've got no sort of business being in the industry, because you will not succeed.
Yeah, so being really adaptable, agile, you know, problem solving, all those sorts of things, which, you know, skills that are transferable from lots of other sectors and roles and things like that. You're just having to use those all the time, aren't you, in the role that you're doing?
To be able to instantly risk assess every situation. And I'm not just saying the typical health and safety stuff. I'm saying things like you've got a massive flood, because sometimes it happens. You've got a massive flood in one part of your building. You've got people kicking off on another side of your building. You've got HR that need you for this, the finance department that want the spreadsheet for that. And then you've got the day-to-day operations of your team and everything that comes with. It's about going, right, what is important here? Yeah. Now, you would think it would be the leak, okay, or the flood. But for me, it's like, well, hold on, if I've got the right team in place there, they're going to deal with that. They'll update me when I need to be updated. So I can go and deal with the client kicking off. Do you know, it's about that, it's about having all the moving pieces and all the puzzle pieces and just understanding where they go.
So what would you say you love most about the industry?
Even on my worst day at work, I love my job. All right, my job doesn't allow for complacency. No 2 days are ever the same. Trust me, I've seen some things. The flexibility of it, it is very flexible. The people you get to meet, and I will say this as well, this sounds really, really sad, but I actually love it when things go wrong, because I get to fix
solve
them.
The problem. Yeah.
I've been with engineers when we had lights that were leaking. So obviously we had to shut off all the lights to that side of the building, but we had traders as well, and the traders' computers couldn't go down, so that was a massive risk. And then I ended up going with the contractor and our engineering team to the toilets, where I came out smelling very awful, but I was like, oh, I know how this works now. So for me, it's that and the fact that it's always a learning experience.
Yeah.
I don't think any two people's perspectives are the same when it comes to FM. That's the other thing as well. Depends on what level you're at.
Yeah, I think definitely what comes across and with the people that I've been speaking to so far is that constant learning. It's that meeting new people, using your network, all that sort of stuff really does come across every time we have one of these conversations, and it's
good.
It's nice to hear for somebody coming into the industry fresh or looking towards a potential career in FM, knowing that there's that bit of support as well from a network of people.
And you're never alone. I would say you're never alone. And I didn't even say the networking, but it's I find as an FM, blatantly, honestly, back in the day, is if you're on an account that has just one FM for one building or for a portfolio, sometimes being the only person in that role in the entire building or business can be extremely isolating. And though I don't do networking very well, I find it a little bit awkward for me. If it hadn't have been for the networking that I'd forced myself into doing, or the people that supported me with it, I would have been a mess. I mean, I've had plenty of times where I've walked into a role and needed a quick fix immediately. And I've just reached out to someone that I either liked their comment on LinkedIn, or I met them briefly once at an event, was like, gosh, can you help me? So it is, I don't think the people within the industry want to see you fail.
What advice would you give to any aspiring FM professionals out there? Anyone that doesn't really know, is a career in FM right for them? Or, someone that's looking to move roles within the industry?
Build a network, ask the right questions. There's a colleague of mine who was in the sports department here, and she was looking to move but didn't know what to. So I said, why don't you just come over, have a trial, see if you like it here, and get to learn about what it is. And now she's absolutely loving everything to do with our industry. But also build on the skills that we're going to need in the future. I think the biggest thing is, say you work in environment, sustainability, ESG, that type of thing, and you feel like you're a bit stuck in that role. It's good, but it doesn't excite you that much anymore. Consider that you can then take a transfer into the world of FM, because that is a hot commodity here.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's trying to reduce the impact on the planet. If you've got, and this may surprise some people, there's a big drive on well-being. So if you can have an FM with well-being experience, that finds ways for the client, and the people in the buildings to be able to work better, what will improve it, whether it's a green wall or a sensory room or whatever. I think that's something that would be quite interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, other than that, just throw yourself in.
And be yourself. I mean, have you felt like you've been able to do that? You've obviously said that you've had to stretch yourself in different directions.
100%. Be authentic. Know that no is completely fair to say. Always, instead of trying to find problems, not just solutions, but choices. That's the best way that I appease people when I can't do something for them. And I think know your audience. I think there's a lot of emotional intelligence that is required for FMs. That's one thing I forgot. And it's really not that obvious. Yes. So I know that my style, the way with being the way you are, because it's done in such a way that is so authentic, my sarcasm works for me. And be honest. Just say you don't know if you don't know something. I always go, I don't know, but I'll find out and I'll get back to you.
Honestly, thank you so much for talking to me about your career so far and your little tips on anyone that's aspiring to come into FM. I've loved hearing about that, and I'm sure we'll talk further. So thanks very much, Andy, for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Michelle. Have a great day.